Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my stats students. Whenever you're watching this, I wanted to review real quick kind of what went over today in class on Tuesday, September 1st. It was on chapter 2. I've already posted some notes, but I wanted to go over a few more things. Okay, we went over them in class, so this might just be a review for you, or maybe you couldn't make the meeting, so you wanted to see what we did. So let's take a look. So in class today, we talked about frequency tables, talked about relative frequency, we talked about segmented bar graphs, and a little bit how to read some tables, okay? So starting with the first thing that I did, a little activity, was to collect everybody's eye color from the class, okay? And we kind of set it up like this, okay? This is called a frequency table. So starting with, I asked the class, okay, what's your eye color? And I got 4 responses that were blue, 3 responses that were green, 3 responses that were hazel, and 18 responses of different shades of brown. So some people said light brown, some people had darker brown colors. However, I just lumped it all into one group of just brown eyes. Okay, adding that up, I counted 28, which looking at it now looks a little bit off. Let me see, 18 and 10, perfect, 28. Okay. And then that's the frequency. Okay, a lot of times you'll see it as count or counts. Okay, you're just adding up everything that you have. Next, I went to relative frequency. Okay, relative frequency is a fancy name for percent, okay, or percentage. So to find the percent of students with blue eyes in the class, it was 4 divided by the total of 28 to get 14%. And then green and hazel were both 3, so 3 divided by 28 gives us 11% for each one. And then lastly, 64% for brown eyes. Okay, 18 divided by 28. You can verify that equals 100%. Okay. Then I went and I made a bar graph. Okay, bar graphs have some special features. Okay, bar graphs, you should have a title. So period 3 eye colors. And then we have like our vertical axis and then our horizontal axis. On the vertical axis, since our highest number was 18, to make it nice, I just made it up to 20, counting by 2s for each line. To make this look really nice, you could probably use graph paper, okay, and make each one worth a box. It'd probably be really nice looking. But some things to think about, okay, when you guys make your bar graphs, things like labeling this is the frequency, okay, which is probably pretty standard for most stuff in this chapter or most things right with categorical variables. And then down here, eye colors, okay, that's the label down here. So you should have your labels, okay. This is like the title of the graph, the bar graph. This is like an explanation of what this vertical line represents, okay? And this is an explanation of what those colors mean, okay? So for blue, I went up to 4. For green, I went up to 3, right, between 2 and 4. Same for hazel. And then brown, I went all the way up to 18, okay? Follow that line, goes to 18. You can use colors, you can use other things. My personal preference is kind of just shade in each bar. But some other features, when you make your bars, they should all be the same kind of width. I think I used like a finger. Okay. I used a finger between them too. You don't have to do that big of a space between the bars. One common strategy would be take like a pencil, okay, or pen to put a small gap between the bars. The gap on the bars you do not have to do. It's very common. I personally prefer to do it when I draw them, but if you did not do it, you would not be wrong. However, it's very common with a bar graph with categorical variables, okay, something like this, to have a small gap between your bars, okay? We are going to be working with quantitative data, and we'll do something called a histogram. Okay, histogram it might look like a bar graph. It's like a bar graph style, but histogram is different because you're dealing with quantitative data, not categorical data. So categorical data, you use bar graphs, okay? With histograms, you have to put the bars next to each other, like they have to be. All right, we took that information, those percentages, and we made what's called a segmented bar graph. How do you make a segmented bar graph? Okay, you start by making it from 0 to 100. Every segmented bar graph goes from 0 to 100. One more time. Every segmented bar graph will go from 0 to 100, okay? I start from the top, and I just start with what I have right here. Okay, blue was 14, green and hazel were both 11, brown was 64. So I start from the top at 100, and I took away 14%. So 100 minus 14% dropped us down to about 86%. Minus 11, minus 11. And then you notice, okay, this right here, what was left over was 64%. So then you got 64, 11, 11, and 14. And then you can use colors, okay? I think with my other class, I used colors, okay? But with this group, I just did, just made some little patterns. So for one was dotted, one was solid, one was kind of shaded diagonally going one way. And then for brown, I just kind of left that one blank, just to kind of create something that was completely different than the other ones, okay? That is called a segmented bar graph. And then there was some questions also. If you go through the practice quiz, there's 3 questions that deal with, they dealt with a table. And that table, it had a lot of values, okay? And trying to read those values, vertical and horizontal, it gave you like a statement, and they all were dealing with the same thing. So I'll give you a brief description of what the table represented. So there was a study that was done. It's probably fake just for the resource that I found. But it said it talked to 200 adults leaving a shopping store, okay, like a grocery store. And it asked them 2 questions. They asked them, 1, do they smoke cigarettes or do they not? Okay, are they a smoker or a non-smoker? Then they asked them, what's their highest level of education? And they started with, are you a high school graduate? Or did you do 2 years of college? Or did you do 4 years or more of college? And the way they asked the questions, okay, they collected that data, and they got 200 people to answer the question. And then they asked us, the people taking the quiz, a few questions. The first question was, out of all the shoppers, which ones were people that smoked and only graduated high school but didn't do any college, okay? And as I described in class, there's this idea that I kind of found as a strategy that I like to use and teach the students, right, is when you see the word like where, you know, it's a great place to draw like a line or just kind of put like a mental break on that question, okay, or statement. And then on each side of that word, you'll notice like the questions that they're asking you, okay, like what are you actually trying to find? And on one side, it was talking about the shoppers, like all shoppers. So that's going to be your denominator. Out of all shoppers, which ones were both, okay, people that smoked and only graduated high school but didn't complete any college, like not 2 years or 4 years, okay? So to find that percentage, it would simply be the group that we want, people that happen to smoke and also only graduated high school, and divide that by the bigger group they were asking about, which was all shoppers. So 32 divided by 200 gives us 16%. Then there was another question, okay, followed that. This is all from the practice quiz for chapter 2. And it said, out of all of the high school grads, which ones were smokers? Once again, I saw that word were, and I drew like a line through it, or I put like a line, like a mental head to separate the statement, okay? And out of the high school grads, okay, if you look at the data, there was 93, out of the 200, there was 93 that only graduated high school but didn't complete any college. So for those that were smokers, it was 32, so the same group of 32. Divide that by the high school grads of 93, and we get 34.4%. So once again, the difference is 16% out of all shoppers smoked cigarettes, and only graduated high school, but nothing too much more. Out of all high school graduates, or people that only graduated high school, 34.4% of them smoke, and the rest don't. And then the last question, part of the quiz, I think it was question 6 or 7. I think it might have been question 6. It said, out of all smokers, which ones had only completed only high school but no college? So they didn't have the word were, but they had the word had, which kind of separates the statements as well. So out of all smokers, once again, if you read the table, it'll say there was 50 of them. Okay, out of those 50, which ones had only completed high school, only not much college, there was 32. So doing that math, 32 divided by 50 gives us 64%. So once again, that would, to answer that question, 64% of all smokers only completed high school but didn't actually complete any college, like 2 years or 4-year programs or more, or higher. Okay, so that was September 1st. That's the notes we took for statistics, periods 1, 2, and 3. If you guys have any questions, email me. Please show up on Thursday for our Thursday meeting. We'll talk more about the classwork and other problems. Okay. Hopefully you found this useful. Even if you did attend the meeting today, the live meeting, hopefully this helps you out with notes. Once again, this was from period 3, but periods 1 and 2 kind of had their own. Okay, they had their own set of problems. Like period 1, you notice kind of similar. Okay. They had 4 blue eyes, 2 green eyes, 7 hazel, and 10 brown. With period 2, they had 4 blue eyes, 3 green eyes, 4 hazel eyes, and 14 brown. Okay, so once again, this one I made a little note. It says don't make it all weird. Don't make it like skinny and wide and just odd shape. Okay, try to keep them consistent. Do the best you can to keep them consistent. All right, so you guys have a great rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is for you guys, and I will see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye. Ooh.